All right, cool. Let's jump into it. What are we at? 10:24, 8th of the 8th. Okay, I have to admit, like, what an absolute uh, shit show of a week, basically. Lack of any other wording for it. Week to sort of come back to. Markets are just absolutely all over the place at the moment. So, look, let's start off with Aussie, just because we've got it on the chart here. And just a follow up of yesterday's sort of thoughts and plan of attack. We could see exactly as we sort of thought push through here once we broke this little level here. So again, this is the same thing. It's every time sellers are here, sellers are here, sellers are here. We break through here. This is on a 1 hour candle. Break through here, comes back here, retests, moves up. You got to think, where are the other sellers going to be? We can see on the chart where they've been every other time. And this is why I put this little arrow here. And lo and behold, that's what happened. Boom, came up here and came back down. Subsequent to that, this was the plan that I was thinking, that we'd get a back test down to this level, which as you can see, did come down here. That's perfectly online. Came up here and took out the highs. Now, what I said yesterday, or what I was sort of planning, thinking for, was that once we'd taken out that 70 level, that we would sort of then see that as a sort of a break, boom, higher high, and away we go. But obviously, as you can see, it got absolutely walloped in that. So there's a couple of little bit parts to this, which I'll sort of unpack in a moment, as to sort of why this kind of happened, or, at least my sort of belief of sort of why it happened. But we can see that sort of obviously sort of like, this is a lot of selling pressure coming down here, and we're asking a lot of it to sort of come back and sort of so basically sort of change the whole direction of what we've seen as a very, very strong downtrend from close to yearly highs. So, there's bound to be a couple of people that sort of like think, okay, not just the people that necessarily got it down here, like hats off to the people that got it down here. I would have loved to have got some sub 64, but there's a lot of people that, maybe they were trying to buy these breaks here and that's why they're sort of selling off down here, these kind of things. So there's never one reason, because it's not just one strategy or one group of people, as participants in the market. There's so many moving parts with it all. But, certainly we sort of saw that as this was sort of trying to push through here, it kind of came out here. This could be just hitting any sort of potential stops up here. We didn't see any sort of massive careening up the top over here. So it wasn't like, okay, hit the stops and run all the top up over here. But you did sort of see it take out any of these sort of technical stops, which people put them just above the highs kind of thing, would have clipped those and then came back down. So we had a bit of news sort of through the middle of the night. Just bear with me 1 second. Where are we? It was the 10-year Treasury auctions. So this isn't really my sort of forte with stuff, but so I can't really sort of comment too much on what the actual outcome was with it all, but I can only sort of comment on the commentary that I saw, which was that it was not overly great for sort of basically risk, but as it was sort of put, was not great for sort of stock markets, equity. And at the moment, the main driver for Aussie, I mean, it's always kind of the main driver, but as I said, there's different factors and different things that move it at different times. Main driver at the moment is the risk factor. The whole idea of us raising rates and or the RBA raising rates, and the idea of sort of like, coming out with hawkish tones and all this kind of sort of stuff, or if we can seem to get together to come out with some strong sort of economic data, which Australia seems to be almost allergic to. Um, the big thing that is the mover at the moment is the risk. And the reason I say this is because you've seen these large sell-offs in the equity markets. Everybody knows, everybody's up to date now. They saw what happened with the Nikkei. They saw it flow across to all the US markets, like the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, all these kind of things. So we know that there is that kind of sort of fear factor in the market, and that Aussie being a sort of a risk asset is what is mainly driving things at the moment. So when you get this sort of bit of data that comes out and they say, oh, well, this isn't good for stocks, and we see the market sort of crunch back down, we see this come down here. Look, I'll put this on. I don't really do this too often, but just to sort of emphasize the point, if we put on this, you can see the line, like the little dotted lines. you can see the little dotted line sort of lining up, sort of so you can see the same amount of time there. So Aussie was already sort of peaking out a little bit, but you can see this section here coming out at the same time here. This is the NASDAQ. And you can see that this just went crunch at the same time, equity markets coming down. What else we got on here? Same over here. You can see the time here that it's starting to come down. Look on the left chart where the Aussie is, and you can see, bang, it's another thing that just smacked it down there. So, you know, as I said, risk and sort of, you know, risk tolerance, whatever you want to call it, in the market is the main sort of driver for Aussie at the moment. And while we still have people sort of scared and questioning whether we're going to see another push down, another solid sort of drive down like we saw the other day, that's going to be the sort of the defining thing for Aussie. If you can sort of alleviate those fears, and you can get the market to go, okay, hold on, wait, maybe, you know, recession, look, who knows it? I mean, maybe recession is coming, maybe recession's already here, depending how people want to cut it up. But, you know, the idea is that sort of like, you know, these things are scaring the market with a bit of uncertainty. And as it's uncertain, Aussie is going to be hit. So anyway, that's a little bit of the background of what's going on. In terms of the chart and the flow at the moment, we can start to build a couple of levels here because, again, we know where the buyers have been previously. We know where the sellers have been previously. Let's just get this alert off. And we can sort of start to go, okay, well, you know, what levels do we want to see taken out to sort of see if we're going to see it moving a little bit more. This plan coming here to the back test, which we've got to push up here, obsolete now. So we can get rid of this one. That's not the plan for the day. Plan for the day, I guess you could, I'm not a big, I suppose you could say this one here because as you can see, this level here, if we flip it around the other side, and this is what I say, if you watch what I do time and time again, support, resistance, same thing. It was resistance, resistance, resistance. We broke through, came back. What level was it where it used it as support? This level here. Came back down the second time. Well, as I said, it just chopped through here. So coming back up here, I would expect a little bit of resistance through here. And then again, if we're going up, this is our main one. So this is still our breakout level. You probably want to again take out yesterday's highs, which is 65.75, 76, whatever, thereabouts. And that would probably be your sort of breakout there. But you know, we can see there was a lot of chop through this kind of zone. If you kind of drag this through here, you can see that this is kind of a bit of a sort of a chop area. I'm not a big fan actually of that. So, but the here and now is this. So we want to see it above 40 short term, 70 the next one. And 40 was the levels that we were trading the other day. And it was came up here. We tested it a couple of times. I think I got some off here, came back, I got some more, got it off here. I didn't really trade a great deal this part through here, which is okay because, I mean, like obviously it failed and came back down afterwards. But, you know, that's still the game. So they're the levels that I'm looking for. Above 40, above 70, and I think that could be now the time that we go. But you can see how many times it has rejected there. So we just want to see this level taken out. So maybe if we jump onto a higher time frame, and we can see that, you know, the 4 hour, it pushed up here, but obviously unable to close. So I think sort of 4 hour, if you can get above here and a close above 70, that'll be your signal that we're actually going to move up a little bit higher. At the moment, the RSI is not looking too crash hot. Obviously, we're overbought coming down here, but we can sort of see sort of how the next couple of hours sort of play out. We do have Bullock actually talking, I think 12:40 local Melbourne time today. And, you know, from her comments the other day with the RBA, it was more hawkish. So if she keeps up that sort of rhetoric and that kind of sort of talk, well, that again will sort of keep Aussie a little bit bid up, or at least hold it from sort of coming down. Now, if we take out the lower side, so if we take out the wicks down here at 65.07, so just call it 65 because it's a round number, then you look down where we've seen the buyers previously, and we're looking back down at 76 or 64.76 at this lower level here. But I do think that Aussie has upside potential. But as I said, the main thing is to get the risk factor and fear on side. Till we get that happening, it's going to still remain to be sort of sold into. All right, so let's flip across. Speaking of, let's go to DXY. DXY, you can see we knew the sellers were here. This is why we put the zone in, and that's where it's come up to. It's clipped it, unable to go through it, and bang, sold down here. So, as I said, look, these kind of things, these are plan of attacks. We thought if it does break through, this is the level that it would be coming up to. Obviously, didn't get up to there. This is still valid if price does get up above here. Like, as I said, this is still a valid thought. But at the moment, as you can see, DXY still catching some selling, and people aren't waiting for it to get up here before they sort of sell back into it. Like, they are the closest to cuts that haven't cut so far. ECB, they've already cut. BOC, they've cut, I think, BOE, I think they may have as well. So, yeah, these are the things that are sort of weighing on that. So I think that's what's really sort of making people think, well, what's the point of it's not coming back up over here to 105. Well, at the moment, it's not looking like that, given the sort of current sort of scenario of everything. So we're looking at playing this game down here, and the levels are pretty clear cut, as you can see. Below, let's put an alert in here, below 102.80. Below 102.80, we're going to be going to test, let's call them major for now, lows. Major of this move, sell down. Test the major lows. So we're going to be coming back down here. Same thing. We know buyers valued it. For whatever reason, all things considered, this is where they bought it. I mean, there's no sort of, this is what I think, you can see it on the chart. That's where they bought it back up. So it stands to reason that if we break through this little level here, where they tried to sell it down again, but buyers were here, buyers moved up to here. If we see a lack of buyers at this level, well, most likely we're going to see buyers down at this level again here. So this would be your target down here. Now, it's not to sort of say that this will always sort of happen like this, because of course that's how high lows happen. You go here, and then bang, that could be a potential thing, and it gives you a higher low. But you got to wait to see where this move, this leg, comes to. If it comes down here, you got a double bottom, you got a continuation, or you got a higher low. There's only those three outcomes. So for the moment, it looks like it's been pushed back down a little bit. We're seeing sort of metals, apart from the fact that it's just trading very heavy, coming off their lows at least. Gold was another one, sort of tried to get above 24 last night, failed, sold down, back into that 80s level. I'll get onto that in 1 second, and we can see that that's where their market's buying it from there. But certainly at the moment, little gap down and a little bit of a push. The alert set, that's the target. So if we can find the right sort of correlations with things, that's the thing. You trade it till we hit into this level. Once we hit into this level, whatever you're trading that's in a correlation with it, that's when we take a bit of profit as well, because there's a likelihood that buyers will step in here again and push it back up. And as I say, you got to get paid. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not a person that's sort of holding for, the greatest run and greatest trade from the high to the low forever. I'm in and I'm out like a bandit, risk bandit, mate. So, you know what I mean? You just got to get paid for your time. So moving on, we got gold. And this is what I'll say here. Look, same sort of deal again. I mean, the thing is, the whole point of trading is just repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel with every single trade. And we can see that, not necessarily this was where the buyers were kind of thing, but this is the level in which we put the buying yesterday. Maybe, do we have it on a 1 hour? Yeah, so we can see here. This is why we built this little level through here yesterday, because we've seen buyers came in here. We said buyers come in here. So as it comes back down, stands to reason that that's where buyers are going to be again. Now, again, it doesn't mean that that level's going to hold forever. It just sort of means that sort of like you got a likelihood that for whatever reason the market thinks, okay, yeah, give me 23.80, I'll buy it. Give me 23.80, I'll buy it. Give me 23.80, I'll buy it. And eventually, you may see that the buyers aren't here, and then where else have the buyers been? And then you go for body fills, wick fills, next supports. These are all different levels in which you could be looking for some sort of reaction with it all. But what I was looking at yesterday, I think it was maybe this, and also silver. There was a pretty nice little falling resistance here. And with these sort of things as well, like if you sort of, again, if you follow what I do, it's the same sort of stuff with it all. You break the falling resistance. Like we can see that, okay, this part of it all, we've got sellers. Sellers have moved down. Didn't quite get here, but, oh, wrong way. Didn't quite make contact here, but sellers were here as well. Or I mean, depending how you put the thing, you can put it like this if you really want, and you can say that's the break back test. Maybe that's a little bit better. Who cares? Point is still the same. You've got the sellers moving down, moving down, moving down, moving down. All of a sudden, you put in a higher high. Now this moved back down here. This is why I had the chart up here, because this is kind of a bit of a confluence area. We've got top side of this falling resistance. We've got the horizontal support. So you've got two people. If they're trading horizontals, if they're trading the break and retest, you've got two segments of the market that are willing to buy it here. Again, nothing's guaranteed. It doesn't mean it's definitely going to sort of go back up, but you've got oversold, pushing back out, or at least turning up. It hasn't pushed back out yet, of this oversold area. You've got a confluence of, two technical setups. So, there's a good chance here that, you're going to see some buying pressure come back up over here. Again, above 24.20 is where you want to see it to sort of say that this move has redone, and then you can start to look up over these levels here. So I'm going to call this one, I'm going to put a little alert here. I'm going to say major break. Higher medium term. Major break of this little section through here. So it looks like it may want to sort of push up. You've got the RSI to support if it does want to go. You've got a two setup of the technical, so a confluence of the technicals to sort of give it a reason to sort of push up over here. As you saw a second ago, we got DXY, it's pushing down. The gold and DXY have 90% got a inverse relationship. So, US dollars going up, gold's going down, vice versa, whatever. At the moment, we've been seeing it sort of really run in step with each other. We've been seeing metals sold off, and we've been seeing US dollar being sold off. US dollar, we know why that's being sold off. It's being sold off because of weak economic data, possible recession coming, possible cuts. That's why US dollar is selling down. Now, there's no sort of set standard reason as to why the gold is necessarily selling down. But one thing that I have seen sort of floated and thrown around is that while equity markets are getting absolutely hammered, which we've seen, as of course we've gone over a couple of times, equity markets are getting hammered and being pushed to the downside. People are getting margin calls. Like these are big drops. I mean, we're talking, 12% in one day for the Nikkei. I didn't see between 5 and 7% for some of the US markets as well. Like these are big drops. Like it equates to globally, multiple trillions of dollars. I think it was, am I imagining it was 100 trillion? It was, maybe I'm making that number up. I don't know. It seems like an awful lot of money, but it was a large amount. You know what I mean? And it's something very, very serious. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. As I was saying, like, coming back to this week here, it's because I think it's The Wolf of Wall Street. I know it's a fun movie and all, but I think sort of in that, doesn't he sort of like becomes like a trader and then sort of like passes his whatever they call it, Series 7 or something like this. It's like first day on Wall Street. And I think that was sort of like Black Monday or something like that. So he came back and he just absolutely reamed. But same sort of thing. I've come back and the markets have absolutely just dumped out. So yeah, it's been a pretty hectic sort of week to come back on, but these things are always interesting, and you can always learn something from it. Anyway, point being is right now the reasoning that I've been seeing float around is that you're getting equity markets sell down, people are getting margin calls, people are in gold profit positions, they're selling those gold positions to cover their margins for the equities. So this is partly why we've been seeing sort of metals and that sort of sell down. At the same time that you've seen US dollar sell down and you've seen equity markets sell down. Because the age-old thing is that, like, equity markets go down, gold's a safe haven, gold goes up. Okay. I was reading an article yesterday and they were saying that sort of typically with these things like, GFC and also there's previous bubbles that we've had where markets have been really hammered. Towards the start of these kind of things, we've actually seen quite solid drops in metals. But less than equity markets, and then they do recover quicker. So, as I said, the reasoning would be that you're getting margin calls. People are selling their gold positions, particularly with gold being near all-time highs. A lot of the market's in profit, so they're selling those to cover their margin calls. That eventually will pass. You know, people either get margin called out and they're knocked out, or they cover their positions and they go with it all. But the point is that that'll pass, and then we'll see metals recover. As to how true this is, I mean, those other ones are previous, like as I said about the previous, like GFC and the bubbles that are burst and this kind of stuff. That is true. So let's see how it applies to this. I'll be sort of really sort of paying attention to this over the next couple of weeks to sort of see if that really rings true, because that could be something that's quite sort of powerful moving forward. I mean, if you've got these sort of things and you know that these have potential ways that the metals will move in relation to these serious kind of, it's almost like a black swan event. Um, it's certainly something that could be very valuable in the future. So anyway, that's the background of gold. Here and now, got this little range. Drop below 77, as I said. You've got body fills, you've got wick fills, and then you've got supports down at 50. So I don't see it going under 2350 necessarily without some sort of major driver, but who knows? This could just be a little early liquidity grab. 11 o'clock. Remember, that's the metals volume hour. So we'll have to sort of see if they're going to be selling this further, based on sort of what was happening overnight, or if we're going to be seeing a little bit of buying come through. It's been pretty quiet. I mean, through yesterday, we're talking between sort of 95 and 80 kind of thing. Was that yesterday? No, actually it was more, because this is the start of yesterday. So it was really between sort of 80 and 90 kind of thing most of the day. Got that little bit of a pump up over here. I sold a couple sort of moving up through here, and again back down here. So we've got a chance to have another little shot over here. But till we get above 24.20, I think you could potentially just see some pretty quiet kind of trading through this area, unless we sort of break to the bottom side down here. So that's how I'll be looking for this one here. Silver, pop across, pretty much the same as the story, though we have seen silver be hammered a little bit harder. So silver, again, it does go a little bit sort of worse than gold in these kind of situations. It will eventually follow suit. If we do get gold pushing up, silver will push up as well. But again, we've seen buys here, buys here, buys here, buys here, and boom, broke down, retest, and early this morning as well, sort of dropped down here. It's recovered a little bit up over here at the moment, but we want to see it back up above here, back into the range. Okay, 26.83. Certainly a lot of upside potential if it can get moving, but for now, it's looking a little bit sheepish. So while I'm on this with this as well, flick across, we've got the gold silver ratio. Gold silver ratio, better on the hourly here. We did see this come off a very long-term major 13-year trend line here. So for 1 second, I'll just show you this. That is a major, major, major trend line. So this one here, confluence, and this is the power of the confluence. We've got the horizontals across there. We've got this major thing, and it bounced up here. And look at that reaction. It has really popped back up to the top over here. Like, that has just absolutely careened. This is on a weekly, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see, with the gold silver ratio, the way that you really apply it is obviously sort of like, if you're trading the metals, where's the power going to be going? Where are we going to be seeing things? And remember when silver was going up to 32, and sort of like, the first big break in that above the high 20s into the 30s was through this period over here. And as we can see, that sort of like, once it was moving down like this, the whole gold market was actually pushing up higher. So if we have quickly flip across and put this two side by side, so we put gold here, and let's put that on a daily as well. And we go through here. You can see this, let's move it back a little bit. Again, you can see the dotted lines lining up with this one. So through this whole period here, this further back here. So gold silver ratio is on the right, on the left, and gold itself is on the right. So from this period here, you can see the whole gold silver ratio is gradually moving down, moving in this direction down here. And if we sort of say this is a starting point, or this is where it lines up here, Gold market moving up. So you want the gold silver ratio kind of moving down for it to be a bit of a bull market. And this goes to sort of stand that people say that sort of in a true sort of metals or gold bull market, silver will outperform gold. Because we can see that sort of like, as this has started to push back up from this level through here, we've seen gold has, yes, it's moved up and appreciated, but it hasn't been breaking into any new highs. So this little level down here, we started to see that gold started to push back up, and this has really just been more or less sideways. We did have this little run here, as you can see, down the side here, and this also lined up with gold moving up. So again, let me just, this little patch coming down here, and then we can see on here, lining up, same time up until here. And yes, look, it overshot it a little bit, but more or less, you can see as the gold-silver ratio is going down, gold's moving up. And, we've just seen this last little push through here, and gold hasn't really been doing anything. So this, if we go back to just one chart, this is the gold-silver ratio here. And we can see that previously, same sort of deal, we've seen where this has been balanced out. This level through here is our first sort of one. We can see it here, here, here. So you would think that potentially there's a little bit more room to go to the top side here, which means a little bit more pressure on gold, just for the time being. But once we come up into this area here and we start to see potentially something like this happen, well, again, you got to look what's been happening previously. This has been, once this moves down here, whoop, as this moves down, gold starts to perform, silver starts to perform a little bit better, and the whole market, metals market, seems to sort of push up a little bit more. So as this has been pushing up, metals have been struggling, obviously, the last couple of weeks, and yeah, basically that's what I'm looking for anyway. I think a little bit more topside here. Once it starts to push back down, then I'll be looking for metals to start to move a little bit more positively. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. If we go through the top, well, yeah, that's a different story, and we'll have to sort of play with that as it happens. Copper, geez, copper has been copping it. No, it's yeah, very much just sort of like, as I said, it's trying to make this little channel through here. We'll come back down into, this is the major breakout. Now that we look at this is why I like to keep some of my charts drawn on for a long time, because remember, this was our major breakout. This was, I remember I was just off to Japan when this happened, and you can see this was the start of the big run. Well, the start of the run was down here, but this is the breakout, back test, new high, and away it went. So this is a major level that we're into over here. So I would expect, as you can see, it held the other day, bounced, a couple of 100 points or so, back down into it again. Will it hold? My feeling is yes, but it is, as I said, it's trading very heavy. And again, look, copper is a risk thing. If the market and everybody's scared, well, they're not going to be expanding so much. They're going to be contracting. And if they're contracting, they're not going to be using so much. They're not going to be doing so much manufacturing, hence not using so much copper. And if they're not using so much copper, well, the demand goes down. If the demand goes down, well, they've got to sell it for cheaper to get people to buy it. Hence, levels moving down cheaper. So yeah, I think sort of this is certainly one to sort of, I've had a couple of stabs through here. I've done okay, like catching swings and that, but certainly nothing like this kind of move up over here. So I mean, this is the alert we put in. Till we get above that, it's pretty tough. It's just going to continue to be sold into. Excuse me. So we'll have to sort of see how this one plays out. But yeah, nothing really too much to say about copper at the moment. China came back up. Look at this. So this interesting how these things just pop into these levels. And, again, this is why we hold these previous levels, because, market for one reason or another has valued it, as you can see, at this point over here previously. And that's where they thought, look, you know what, now this time I'm going to sell it from that point. So it's not looking super strong, but as we've seen previously with this last move down here, it moved up and it just kept grinding higher and higher and higher. So not to sort of say that it can't do this, but we have seen this with these really sharp sell downs. Hasn't necessarily come up here. Second flow gone down here. Second push came down here, and on it went through here. So again, underneath this wick is your confirmation. The fact that it managed to close the bodies above this sort of level means that certainly they're still considering holding it up above these levels. Once you get a close down under here on a daily, underneath sort of 711, then that could be the trigger to go down here. But at the moment, sold down from this daily and hasn't got a top wick, so that's one to be cautious of here. I wouldn't be surprised if we do have a little bit more of a push and a grind back up over this side over here. All right, so that's pretty much it for the day. Just have a quick scan. As I said, we got Bullock talking at 12:40. It's 10:54 now. And that's about it. We've got unemployment claims for the US coming out tonight. It's looking fairly flat, 249 previously, 241 expectation. And then after that, we've got a 30-year bond auction overnight. As I said, I've got to brush up on that because that's not really my forte as to sort of what the reactions will be. I mean, obviously, if we see sort of weak participation in these things, generally you'll see a bit of a push with US dollar. Okay, that's my feeling. I'll write that down and I'll check it just so to see if I've got this correct. But apart from that, yeah, it's looking pretty flat news-wise through the end of the week. Tomorrow we do have CPI and PPI for China to sort of see how things affect stuff there. All right, that's pretty much it from me.